Estente, let's talk about print surfaces. So I have a 3D printer and I have three different surfaces that I use for it. I have a PEI sheet, the smooth style, not wobbly. I have the borosilicate glass with the little guys on it, and I have the old school buildtak plate. And there's been videos on this in the past, and people sort of seem to have like I don't know, normally like come into it with a favourite, and it's normally this guy. It seems to be very popular to the extent where everyone's like, it's just the surface now. This is just what everyone uses. And it's the best one. But honestly, of these three, and I'm going into them individually, I find this one ultimately to be the worst and the most popular and probably the most expensive of these three. The PEI sheet I find to be the worst print surface. That being said, I use it tons still because this one is on a wobbly metal sheet which peels off the print plate, and this one actually as well, I have to hold down with crocodile clips like some sort of fucking Neanderthal. So for convenience, I do use this for small parts quite a lot, but if I need something critical, I tend to go to this guy, buildtak, which is old school and not very flavour of the month and whatever for 3D printing people. But honestly, for reliability, this is the best. Everything sticks to it. It always sticks. It very rarely doesn't stick. I find this works 24/7 all the time, never goes wrong. Occasionally, you have to replace the sheets. They have a working life. I don't know what kills them, but after a certain amount of time, they do lose adhesion. But we're talking in the order of months. I think for some people, maybe years, but it's not often you need to actually change these, but you do occasionally. But they're not very expensive. I think a pack of 3 or 5 of these cost £10 in the UK, and they're a pain in the arse to change, but you know, they last ages, and in the meantime, everything always sticks to it. It's pretty much bomb-proof. Nothing ever goes wrong. Then we go to the glass, the borosilicate glass, which has glue stick on. In case you're wondering, I haven't bothered cleaning it off because I don't use this side basically at all. So I'll go into that in a second. But the thing is, between these two, they're actually quite similar. This has adhesion issues, as does PEI. They're both really sensitive to fingerprints. I think it's the oil off your fingers and dust. So if you don't use it for a few days, you need to wipe it down with IPA. That's true of both of these. But what that ultimately leads to, and actually slightly more in the case of PEI, you get random lifts. Sometimes things just don't adhere for no reason. You can clean this down. I wipe this down with IPA every single time I use it. 99% the good stuff, the top shelf shit. And sometimes it just doesn't stick. It just doesn't want to. It's like, nah, not interested, and just pops off. And it doesn't seem to be, maybe it's me dialing in my printer or whatever, but I've never had that issue elsewhere. I generally sort of keep it fairly well dialed in. It's got auto bed leveling, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is kind of not super duper reliable. It's not unreliable, but in terms of if you need something to stick, if you're printing something big that needs to be sticky and needs to finish, I always use this. With the exception of times where I need a really, really good surface finish. So this is obviously smooth. It leaves a very nice surface on the prints that come off it. And this guy, I honestly almost never use this side of the glass with the little apparently adhesion improving sticky things. This is very, very finicky. What I do, excuse my messy room, is I use the back of this. If I'm ever going to print on glass, I use the back because it's awesome. Now, if you take this and get it incredibly clean, like super duper clean, clinically clean, soap and water and IPA, until literally, you know the phrase squeaky clean? Get it until it squeaks. Just wash it until it's as clean as it possibly can be. Water, you'll know, because water will bead up and behave differently on it. Once it's that clean as humanly possible, you don't touch it, you don't touch the surface, don't do any of this, and you put it straight in the printer, and it's good for pretty much 1, maybe 2 prints. But what you get from that is the best surface finish possible. Weirdly, the surface comes out like glass. So if you've got something where the mating surface on here is the top surface in your final print, do it on here, it will look insane. It's reflective, it's actually shiny, it looks incredible. I wish I had one to hand, but I don't, because I've thrown all those away. But yeah, if you need a really, really good surface finish, use this. It's absolutely insane. And honestly, the incredibly clean glass sticks just as well as this. Honestly, this has no adhesion problems. I think if you have something massive, you might have a little bit of lifting, but not actually as much as you think. In that case, just use a brim. Brims aren't that bad, don't worry about it. But yeah, things generally stick super duper well to this when it's super clean for that one print. And this, when it's pre-prepared versus this, are kind of identical, apart from the surface finish is better on here. And actually, I find the super clean glass technique slightly more reliable than using the PEI. But 9 times out of 10, if I have something critical that needs to get printed and printed well, I'm going to be old school and use the buildtak, because it just works. It just super duper works. And I've noticed more and more with printers now that some people are still shipping the glass. I think the glass ultimately, on the flippy side with the coating, sucks. But the choice for most people nowadays is PEI, and I actually think ultimately it's worse than buildtak. What I can't speak for is the textured PEI or the sandblasted PEI. I've only got the smooth one, which I imagine, honestly, I think the textured PEI and the sandblasted PEI probably does actually kick the shit out of this. I presume it's probably better, but I haven't used it, and given my experience with the smooth stuff, the benefit to me, if this works, the only benefit of using this versus this is surface finish. And texture PEI, I don't get that because I don't have any adhesion issues with this. So, whatever. I think I've mentioned it before, I can't remember. It's worth mentioning, I print PLA, PETG, and TPU. I don't think you can print TPU or I can't remember which one it is. PETG or TPU you can't print on PEI, it reacts or something. I can't remember which way around it is, but either way, if it's not PLA, I use this anyway. So I hope it's in some way useful to someone, if someone's actually watched this, and that is my 2 cents. And yeah, sometimes older is kind of better in a way, at least in my experience. Your mileage may vary, but yeah, have a fun afternoon or morning or evening, or solstice or public holiday, and I'll probably see you again at some point sometime. Bye.